So the character that we talk about now is Trie, or called the prefix Trie. And yeah, um, before anything else, I think that it's nice that we establish what character are we establishing today. Obvious, we're still talking a lot to do with Trie per se, and specifically we're talking about this thing called Trie per se, and it's also known as this prefix tree. Okay, so um, obviously we always use a brute force to fight against characters per se, and for in terms of like what kind of spells that this guy can actually cast, that's something that we want to actually find out about. And sometimes we have like a certain rule book that each need code question, but for this case no lead code question. So we go into the playout series to find out how all these things sort of like play out per se. So now, cool. So the thing is, the highlight is this, that go to the root, go to the A. If say you want to create apple, go to the root. If there's no A, you create a new A. Then the next alphabet is P, right? So there's no P, you create a P. There's no P, you create another P. There's no L, you get the idea. You create L. There's no E, you create an E, and then you form the apple. And before you actually close off as the whole entirety of the word, you mark it out saying that, okay, this is the end, right? So, and then the next idea is that if say that there is like the legal question asks that, oh, help me find AP. Go to the child, check if there's A, there's an A, check if there's a P, there's a P, there's this whole entirety of the AP. So there's like two operations that to talk about. So for operation Z per se, is that it falls under the category of just I just want alphabet AP. So true, there is AP. But and then we have operation Y to actually fight against this operation that's saying that I want AP that is a word. But for this case, there's no marking of saying that AP is a word because there's no end off circles. As for this, anytime you end off with a word, you end off with a circle. But for this case, there's no end off with a circle, so I wouldn't consider this to be a operation Y per se. It's an operation Z. That means it just contains the prefix of the word, just the AP. It's not a word. If it's operation Y, you need to have a circle. But for Z per se, is that there's no ending off with a word. It just says that it contains this alphabet. So, yep. And next, cool. So we go to the child, go to the A, go to the P. Cool. And then the thing is this, that if say I want to create this word APE, do I go to the child and create another A and then say go to the P, as opposed to this, which is operation X per se? We're gonna do with operation W, where we use our existing nodes could check if there's a, oh, we're just gonna use this a. If there's a p, there's p, and then there's no e, right? We check if there's e, no e, we also create a new one, call it e, ending with the word because this is the whole entirety of word, and then now we have the APE. So as opposed to operation X where you and create a new whole A, P, and E, you use what's existing, which is operation W per se, that there's already a E, there's a P, might as well use it, and then create a E from there if there's no E from there. So it's efficient in that way. And say that you want to create a new word by using your existing apple per se in your tree, right? So now next is that there's a O, there's an N, there's an O, there's a P, there's an E. Cool. Check if there's an N. Obviously there's no N. Create an N. Cool. Create an O. Cool. Create a P. Cool. Check if there's any E. No E. Create a new E. And then end of with the word. Now you have the entirety of the word. Cool. And if the lead code question asks you for like N and the O, check the N, check the O, and then it's like similar to operation Z and Y per se, but this time around it's just N and O. It's not checking of the entirety of the word. So because it doesn't have like something to actually say that, oh, I am an N for this word. It's on the E, so the whole word is NOPE, not NO. So it's fall under category under Z per se, just contains the alphabet. Cool. We give the answer as per operation Z. If we want it to be word, we got to be following the procedure of like operation Y per se, where we say that, okay, we circle out the last alphabet per se. So that's the difference between operation Z and Y per se. This falls under the category of Z, where it just contains the alphabets. So, I mean, when we talk about the spell per se for this specific free feeds tree, I don't know if this I'm just kind of like because this thing is like so much more of like a concept rather than asking me whether is it a spell or a passive spell. It's just like if I were to describe it, you're just giving me a small part of the story, not giving me the full story, so I can't really argue whether it's like a, you know, it's a spell or a passive spell per se. But what I'm getting that it's having like some sort of like condition based map maneuver around the map per se, because you look at this is that they will constantly ask that, okay, if this thing exists or not, then they create the alphabet. If this thing exists or not, it create the alphabet. And then it can even, you know, use existing nodes and actually use them and actually create something from existing conveniently. I just feel like it's like it's doing this smart maneuver around the map per se. Smart maneuver around map, hands down to it. Like at least I think this is one of the spell that I can actually argue with, although we don't really have like a concrete brute force to actually fight against the character, because we don't really know is it a spell or a passive spell. It's just a, like what we said, we still have very little information to work with firstly. So yeah, everything comes to an end.